evening. Hi, everyone,
Hello.
and
For
welcome.
thousands of years, I've laid dormant. Oh,
Welcome
What's in
to
your
oh, hi guys.
the Embarcade, where anything could happen.
I tried to be funny and it did not work in my favor.
That's okay. It's okay. We got that. So it's really cool. So if it's the first time that you are joining us on Embarcade, you are joined by Nova, Brian, and Robert from the XP Crunch
I'm the
team.
master of music.
I'll have to live that one up, based on what we spoke about last night. So, if you haven't seen the show yet, we are in our own right experts in specific fields, where we have the artist in the group, and we have the actor in the group, and we have the musician in the group tonight, and then also who won't be joining us tonight, Chris, who does voice over acting and always chats about things happening in the industry. But he'll definitely be with us next week. So just to give a bit of an introduction or how the week has been going, Brian, how was your week? What is news in your life?
Yeah, I can't really complain too much. I had a pretty awesome weekend. I've been going out a little bit. I'm starting to go out a little bit more, just to kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit. And to even help with that, I even went kayaking.
Oh wow.
Kayaking.
Mhm.
That is so cool. Have
I
you
may
always
have-
been into it?
Huh?
Have you always been into kayaking?
Honestly, this is probably the fourth time I've been in my entire life.
Oh, this is so cool.
But
Always
then
nice to
both times ended in disaster. I have more than flipped and sunk more than my fair share.
Oh my goodness.
That is not ideal.
Not ideal, but it's still fun.
Let's
Hey,
get
at least you
dangerous.
could say that it's fun out of the experience.
And Nova, how was your week? What have you been up to?
My week has been pretty good. I've been trying to get back into the creative flow. I've been a little bit of an art block lately, so I've been trying to get myself to get back into drawing, and that's actually been pretty fun, especially with practicing things that I'm not used to drawing. So I've been having fun with that.
That's so cool. What do you do if you get in this art block, or I know that people get writer's block also with writing songs and things. What do you do to get you out of that rut?
Me personally,
Yeah.
I do. It depends. This time around, what I've been doing is usually what I do is listen to music because music tends to help me come up with ideas with my art. 99% of the art that I draw is inspired by the songs that I listen to, um, or inspired by some other creative media. So
Honest,
I take a lot of my inspiration from the things that pop into my head when I'm listening to music. Yeah.
That's so cool. That is
honestly,
so
what
cool.
would help with that for me personally?
Mhm.
Cartoons,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
for
Cartoons.
sure.
cartoons. I don't know,
For
try to
sure.
I would try to mimic styles of what I'm watching. Say if I wanted to draw something like SpongeBob, I would try to mimic something that's in that SpongeBob art style, but don't make it SpongeBob related.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's a good way to practice learning different art styles as well, which is one thing that I've been trying to do for a
Or have
good
you seen?
couple of art
Or
styles.
have you seen these things that people put up where you'll have a certain anime character and then you'll have different artists draw that character in the different anime styles. You have Goku in the art
Yeah.
of in the form of Naruto's art style, JoJo Bizarre Adventure art style.
Yeah, I love seeing that stuff because then you really get a good idea of how different um uh, all these different art styles are in different medias.
That's actually so cool. That's very clever. Just to latch into someone else's art style and then kind of expand your own way of doing things. That's
Mhm.
very cool. So my week's been it's been crazy and good and exciting.
You look like you're wearing a kimono right now.
It's actually it's a jacket.
It's just the way your microphone's blocking it. I don't know, it kind of
That's
makes it
the
look like you're kind of wearing a robe.
Hi. We can do. There we go. There.
What up, son?
Yeah. So I recently went to well, South Africa has got we've got three like capitals where it's split into like we have the coastal capital and then we have the um, economical side of things and then we have like um, another one that used to be for trade in the old days. So Cape Town is like the first founded city in South Africa, and so I went to Cape Town and we had I had to mark an exam for a company that's like a private university type of thing for well for music obviously but and we traveled there so a lot of things have happened in between doing the exams and or like marking people and I've learned so much like with the way that they approach entertainment and education with a business bit of that side and also I've got a choir now so I'm actually conducting a university
Ooh.
choir so I started on the 21st of August and we've been rehearsing like crazy because on Friday we have our first gig and one of our national newspapers called the Herald they are having a citizens award and we actually one of the guest artists so we have to perform like a half an hour set and
Oh,
it's really
wow.
cool because there's like this one celebrity who's the master of ceremonies and he's going to join us with the one song and then one of the people who are award winners who is used to be our head of department say like 10 years ago but he's retired and he actually composed the song and the choir is actually going to do this song while he accompanies us. So it's exciting and stressful and everything at the same time. But yeah, it's I think it's just been a week, you know, of good things happening. So it's like really cool. So if I'm thinking of what we are doing tonight, we are going to look at some epic things, epic games, epic series, epic art, and
We will even go back in time a little bit.
we're going to go back in time. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Maybe to once upon a time to when gaming was a little more simplistic. Not so much easier, but more simplistic.
Awesome.
Uh,
Let's look at a little clip from one of the games that you are going to be featuring. Here we go.
And that was Chrono Trigger. Was and still is probably one of the best 16-bit JRPGs of our generation, in my opinion. It is still highly praised. It is still highly played. And it has inspired like the kind of like the main what's a good word for it? Kind of like the main theme of kind of like the main what is the word that I'm looking for? The main standard for like all JRPGs kind of main going forward. I don't want to say all RPGs because all JRPGs are different.
Yeah.
But Chrono Trigger was special because not only like if you clearly saw, not only did it have the team behind Final Fantasy, but also Dragon Quest and the artist of Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama. Like that RPG was special. And it's still really like it's still oh I gotta give it a chest kiss every time I think about it because that game is just but anyway, like if just in case anyone has never played Chrono Trigger but you want to consider it, it is on Steam, it is on mobile. It did originate on the NES, or I'm sorry, not SNES. Sorry, I just had pizza earlier. But Chrono Trigger takes place in an Earth-like world with eras of prehistoric age, in which primitive humans and dinosaurs share the Earth. Middle Ages replayed with knights, monsters, and magic, and the post-apocalyptic future which destitute humans and sentient robots struggle to survive. The characters frequently travel through time to obtain allies, gather equipment, and learn information to help them in their quest. The party also gains access to the end of time, which serves as a hub to travel back to other periods. The party eventually acquires a time machine, which is known as the Wings of Time, nicknamed. I cannot pronounce that. I'm sorry. I am bad with like pronunciations. Anyway, this vehicle is the vehicle is capable of time travel, between any time period without first having to travel to the end of time. So if that wasn't obvious, this game's about time travel.
It's
That's pretty awesome.
But that's still honestly, it's still my top RPG. I'm even consider like giving it a replay. I mean, I have my Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
So
it kind of gives me like Pokemon vibes.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's kind of like, I guess you could kind of say maybe Final Fantasy. Well, I mean, yeah, it is Final Fantasy basically. And speaking of Final Fantasy, I kind of want to go into the next one I talk about, which is probably the most underrated Final Fantasy, but it's still people highly consider this. There would be people who are shocked, who would shock you into think that this one is better than Final Fantasy VII.
So
Never,
like
huh?
Like what do you think attracts you to these games? Like what makes it like really interesting for you? If you look at the even in the Japanese style of the games, because you tend to lean to that anime type of games. Like you really enjoy that. Like what is the biggest thing for you that really makes it like,
honestly
really
it's
interesting?
the story. Like if a story doesn't like click with you, drop it. Because that's the biggest thing with these games is the story. Like if the story doesn't like pique your interest, like if you get bored with the story, there's no point. But games in the 16-bit era, they had such good stories. And while today's like JRPGs do have like really, really good storytelling, really, really good writing, and on top of that, really good gameplay. Like that's another thing for me. That's why I really highly consider Xenoblade Chronicles, also another one of my favorite JRPGs. It's still good. Like the gameplay may not be like quite up there because it kind of has like that Final Fantasy 14, like kind of the auto attack kind of feature. I'm not a big fan of that, but like what clicked with me was Xenoblade was the story. Like if the story clicks you, it doesn't matter how good or bad the gameplay is. Like you're gonna want to know like what happens in this story. Like you are hooked. If the story hooks you, that's it. That's a wrap. Like you just need to continue on despite whether or not you like the gameplay or not.
I find that a lot of JRPGs tend to hook people in with their fantastical storylines and really in-depth characters.
All right,
Yeah.
and that's
I kind of enjoy the artwork. It's I think, you know, specifically you mentioned like the Final Fantasy earlier on. If I think how it expanded from the initial games to what we are experiencing now, even like the fine details of like the flowing hair and the shiny little things, like say if there's like magic involved, or if they feature like a jewel or something, and the shiny little features of it, it's like the quality of the graphics and the design, it's really improved over the last say 10 years even. It's really it's almost like they've taken charge of that type of animation, like the drawing, if I can call it that, where it became like really realistic almost to a certain degree, but you can still see that it's cartoon.
Like you
So you
saw
want to
like
speak
I was gonna say like you could like during the Chrono Trigger trailer, you clearly saw like the animations. Like I'm sorry, that was like I just because I'm a huge fan of Dragon Ball too, so that's also what helps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I've never
really cool.
played. I've never played, but personally, just sitting here and watching it, it did look really entertaining to me, and it looked like something I would get into. Even not even just like because of the animation scenes, but because of the graphics themselves. I know that like currently, right now, games that are like, sort of like pixelated are kind of like coming back, especially with things like Undertale or Deltarune being really popular. People have been, falling back in love with that kind of like video game like art style. And I personally, I still find charm in it.
I do too.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm playing. It's another one of the games we'll be talking about, but Sea of Stars.
Mm.
It really brought back like that 16-bit era like style of RPG, but it has like I don't know. I guess it's what's a good way to put this? I guess it's putting a shine on an old piece of metal.
Yeah. That's so
Putting
cool.
shine on an old good piece of metal, and you're still able to have fun and use that piece of metal for whatever you want.
Yeah. That's so cool. The fact that you mentioned the pixel games, I have an esport team at school, and I'm trying to get them to play CS:GO, because the computers can actually handle. And then I just find, it's a typical kids. They go and play Krunker. It's like I don't know how they found out that they can actually do the online games, and then they go and play that while they're supposed to be focusing on improving their skills in CS:GO. That's it's actually weird. If you want kids to do something specific and you ask them to play a specific game, they'll go and find something else to go and play. So the pixel art is really quite cool. So, but Brian, you said specifically you also wanted to speak about Final Fantasy.
Yes, we're gonna go back to again turning back the clock because this is my whole topic is kind of going back to that 16-bit era of like JRPGs, and honestly, I consider that, or I almost want to consider it like the peak of RPGs before, like right before Final Fantasy VII. There was just like an era of like JRPGs that were just like unsurpassable in my opinion. And Final Fantasy VI, like it's so highly, like it's still highly talked about. Like it's actually people's favorite art Final Fantasy to this day. Like some people even like it better than 7, and 7 is considered like the plethora, like the peak of Final Fantasy in some people's eyes.
Sure. That's really cool. Let's go and check a little sneak peek on the trailer, and then we can chat about it. Wow.
Beautiful.
That was beautiful.
Oh man, but that's Final Fantasy VI, and it's I gotta say it's technically I never finished it, but I played it before I can at least praise it. But honestly, like six was special because it just I don't know I feel like it kind of focused on a different level of themes, but I wasn't too sure. Oh, here we go. Duh, I remember now. It was like an ancient war. Here's like kind of like the setting or like the prelude of it. The ancient war of Magi, when its flames at last receded, only the charred husk of a world remained. Even the power of magic was lost. In thousand years that followed, iron, gunpowder, and steam engines took the place of magic, and life slowly returned to the barren land. Yet there are now there now stands one who will reawaken the magic in ages past, and use its dread power as a means by which to conquer all the world. Could anyone truly be so foolish enough to repeat that mistake?
It's right intense.
You hear that and you just gives you chills, man. But
I mean, the clip you just showed gave me chills, and I've never even looked into the franchise. I've known about it for a long time, thanks to my parents, who are huge Final Fantasy fans, but especially my mother. But I've never played the series, any of them, really. I've been recommended it so many times, and
get them on
especially because
Switch.
of the art style
Get them on
and
Switch
the
or PC.
story.
Get the Pixel remasters on Switch and PC. You will not regret it. Anywho,
It just does look very good.
That is another timeless 16-bit JRPG that still has a place in my heart. Now for my last one, I'm going to keep this kind of brief for time's sake, but now this is kind of bringing back something to the modern era. This game literally just came out, by the way, but very briefly, I want to talk about Sea of Stars.
Cool. Let's check out the little video clip.
Wow.
That looks epic.
That does. That looks like
It
something
is.
I would play. You can
Yeah,
see the love put into that.
Mm-hmm. This game paid a huge homage to Chrono Trigger, which was literally the first game I talked about. But if you have PlayStation Plus, I think at least extra, like the extra tier, because I don't know, PlayStation's stupid. You have to have tiers. You have to pay extra tiers now, and then get ready to shoot up, which is stupid. PlayStation L, literally. But if you have any form of PlayStation Plus, it should be free to download. Play it if you have the time. It is so worth it. I'm currently still working on it, but so far this game's been a blast because not only did the story kind of hook me, but also you saw the gameplay. That gameplay was awesome. Like they literally took something old, made it better, and that's what I love about these the classic style of these 16-bit JRPGs coming back. Is I love taking something old and just take something old and put like a new spark to it, giving it like a new breath of life. And that's what they did with Sea of Stars, because I can tell that they just put a lot of love into that. So
yeah, I think it's amazing. You kind of look at the art style. So it's very much based, like, I keep on referring to Pokemon, and for the lack of think of a different reason. One of the people commented and said Shining Force, also one of the type of games where, and now all of a sudden just the graphics have been enhanced. So obviously with the pixels being smaller or more detailed, you'll be able to see that. So now your characters look more rounded off, or well-rounded. And then even like the little speech bubbles now, it's actually, it looks really nice and detailed. So it makes it really cool. But speaking of old, I want to jump into my section, and I'm going to speak about something different with regards to well, not being games, but stories that have been with us since like a very young age. If you think of medieval time stories, Cinderella, and all these type of things. So
So I guess
and
you
a
could
lot
say once upon a time.
yeah, once upon a time. So we sticking to our theme of that, and it is like one of the series is that I basically binge watched during lockdown and totally fell in love with it. It was during my fourth year in university, and we actually had this one subject called music and film, and it was had a bit of a philosophy spin on it, and we would like psychoanalyze the movies that we had to like present for our subject. And because of me being so aware of all the little nuances and little things in the movies, all of a sudden now when you watch a series, you can't miss, like, there's certain things that would pop out because you've been made aware of it. So I want to show you a little a trailer of the first season of Once Upon a Time, and maybe you will get hooked, and then you want to go and buy the DVD set, and I'll give some explanation on what this was about.
I wanted to bed Once Upon a Time on Disney Plus.
Have you watched it?
I've watched the first season.
The first season.
Yeah.
Okay, then
but that was when it was still on Netflix.
cool. But let's look at the trailer, and then I'll show you my favorite character and what scene made me fall in love with this character. So let's check it out. Once Upon a Time.
I'd like a room. What's the name? Swan. Emma Swan.
Emma. What a lovely name.
Thanks. Welcome to Storybrooke.
Time is frozen here.
Excuse me?
The evil queen did it with her curse. She sent everyone from the enchanted forest here.
Then why does everybody just leave?
They can't. If they try, bad things happen.
It has begun.
Sorry, I'm late.
How would you like a glass of the best apple cider you ever tasted?
Why did you do this?
Because this is my happy ending.
Believing in even the possibility of a happy ending is a very powerful thing.
He doesn't know.
That he's a fairy tale character.
None of them do. They don't remember who they are.
Everything we love will be ripped from us while we suffer for all eternity. No more happy endings.
Every story in this book actually happened. You should know more than anyone.
Why is that?
Because you're in this book.
Where are we going?
Somewhere horrible.
I'll always find you.
I will destroy you if it is the last thing I do.
Enjoy your stay. Emma.
So this is like such a feel-good series. If you enjoy fairy tales, then this is definitely the series that you do not want to miss. You need to go and
Yeah, a
buy
lot of
it.
that. A lot
For
of that was
sure,
some ringing some
Canva.
bells.
Yeah, and just in the little introduction over here, this is like just a fraction of the amount of fairy tale characters in this thing. So just to give you a bit of background, the main character that you saw there, Emma Swan, and then the little boy, and you saw Prince Charming and Snow White. So basically, what happened, without giving too much away, it's because it basically tells you in the trailer, is that the evil witch was, the whole story is the evil queen rather, wants her own happy ending, and she's trying to like figure out like why is she always the bad person and type of thing. And what she does is she gives them a gift, but it's actually a curse, and sends them all to like the real world, and all the characters forget who they were. So the Snow White, all of a sudden she's a teacher, and Prince Charming, somehow he gets like knocked unconscious, and he's in the hospital, and he doesn't know who he is, even though he forgot that he was the Prince Charming, but even he doesn't know who he is in the real world. And then the evil queen then becomes the mayor of Storybrooke. And the funny thing is just the little nuances and little things that they hide. If you think of the evil queen, the cartoon story is that she was actually the daughter, like a Mill's daughter, and now her real life character name is Regina Mills. Now, Regina is actually the meaning of a name for royalty. So, and then Mills, so it actually gives the character name away. So the evil queen, known as Regina Mills, as the mayor. And throughout, you'll see, like even in the little preview, she spoke about the apple cider. So now you know it's like, oh, don't drink it because it's going to be poisonous. Because you kind of think of the old the thing where Snow White was poisoned by the poisonous apple, and you see the like Rumpelstiltskin, who's also in there, and later you find out that he's named Mr. Gold. So he's like he owns this almost like the antique shop, and everything that belongs to like some of the characters, like you'll see there's a cuckoo clock, and then you'd realize, oh, it's Geppetto and Pinocchio's thing, or there'll be certain artifacts that are like really significant, and as the fairy tale characters go into the shop, they all of a sudden they're like attracted to this item, but they don't know why. And it's like really, really cool to see that how they bring these stories in there. Now, I know that Nova, you also watched some of it, and I think we might share a same character. And like, who would you say who was your favorite character in the series?
I went through a good few of liking them, but I think throughout watching the series up to where I left off, every season I did really like Regina.
Yeah, she's kind of, because it's like, when the character starts off like really evil, and then later on it actually feels like she becomes like the main character in the whole story, and Emma Swan kind of like goes into the background, then eventually she falls in love with Captain Hook, and at one stage also, like, I know he was like the front page of all the teen magazines type of thing, because it's not your typical Captain Hook. He actually looks like a GQ model or something. Brian, you also said that you watched it.
I think it was the first season. Yeah.
Okay, was there any characters that stood out for you?
Not that I can remember, because like I said, it's been ages since I watched it, so it's
been a while.
Kind of blurry. I basically had to start over.
Yeah,
I remember Prince Charming kind of sticking out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so all of these characters sometimes have more than one role. So if you think of all the Disney princesses, they all had a Prince Charming. So you kind of think, okay, this one prince is, did he have all these? Did he like make all these princesses fall in love with him? that type of thing. So like earlier I said, like Regina Mills, the evil queen, definitely my favorite character. And I want to play a scene. It's basically in the first season where, well, I actually think it's the first episode that I totally fell in love with the character. And Brian, you can also give me your opinion of her acting. And there's this one thing, all she says, "Sorry, I'm late."
And you, Snow White, promise to take this man to be your husband and love him for all eternity?
I do.
I now pronounce you husband and wife.
Sorry I'm late.
It's the queen! Run!
She's not a queen anymore. She's nothing more than an evil witch.
No. Don't stoop to her level. There's no need. You're wasting your time. You've already lost. And I will not let you ruin this wedding.
Oh, I haven't come here to ruin anything. On the contrary, dear. I've come to give you a gift.
We want nothing from you.
But you shall have it. My gift to you is this happy day. But tomorrow my real work begins. You've made your vows, now I make mine. Soon, everything you love, everything all of you love, will be taken from you forever. And out of your suffering will rise my victory. I shall destroy your happiness, if it is the last thing I do.
Chills.
Epic was that?
Yeah. That was like cynical. Like she did a really good job of like being like this cynical, evil queen. Like if that was her, if that's what they wanted her to do, she nailed it.
Yeah. I actually remember. Yeah.
Like the objective of these characters is that you want to hate them. I hate her. I hate her. I want to smack her with a cartoonishly huge fish.
I actually remember that this clip when we did one of our previous shows like a year or two ago, and I know you started with the little script. You would read a script, and then the audience had to guess where it came from. Like, was it from a movie or something? You had to try and figure out.
Oh, guess the show.
Yeah. And this was one of the things, because the three guys from South Africa.
Honestly, I should bring that back. We should.
That is actually quite cool. So, and that was one of the things that I did. So I had that script in front of me, and I distinctly remember reading that, and it was like, it's and I think one of the guys also guessed that they knew it was like from some Disney thing, and they almost got it right, but yeah, it's the script was so epic, and just that whole thing. Sorry, I'm late. That whole demeanor that and then when she walks in, the music goes doom 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 doom, and she like, it's almost like she's on a like at the airports you have like that strip, then you walk faster, and like has that movement. The feet move slowly, but you actually just like progress to the front. So that is quite epic for me, and yeah, I think that's what caught my attention to this series, that I literally binge watched it from season 1 to the last one, and they had like a secondary version of it also that they brought out. I think it was like 6 or 7 seasons, I can't remember now. Yeah. But all the different characters, and the whole mystery behind things. Then you'll see a face, or you're trying to figure out like, what character is this, or like the one thing, they even have like little Bo Peep, and she's the butcher. Now you think, okay, now I know where the sheep disappeared to. A little bit, if you think of the nursery rhyme. So they've got all those little things, and Jack and the Beanstalk, where Jack is actually portrayed as a female character. So it's Jacqueline, and then she's like a giant hunter, and the story of the dwarves, like the Snow White and the seven dwarves, and how some of them have their names, where Tiny actually was a giant, and then with some magic or whatever, he becomes this little like a dwarf. So it's actually quite cynical and quite funny, and just the backstory, because we were doing that music and film course at the university. I tend to pick up all the symbolism, and at one stage, it kind of, because they always referred to Emma Swan as the savior, so it almost felt like almost like a Christian story type of thing. And at the end of the one season, it actually shows a picture of everyone having dinner, and then Emma Swan being in the middle, where it actually represents her as the Christ, and the whole last dinner, like that portrait with the disciples. And so it literally had that. So it was so well hidden, but also so obvious in your face. And yeah, I think anything with Disney type of characters is epic. And speaking of epic characters, we're going to move over to epic art, and Nova's going to present us her section. Ta-da!
Yes, I also just want to add that what you had brought up fits nicely into what Brian had mentioned earlier about like taking old things and making them more like modernized and putting like a spin on it.
Yeah.
I think Once Upon a Time does a really good job at doing that, especially when it comes to like character designs. And that's what I wanted to talk about. I know for the past few episodes I've been talking about character designs, but this one, like Brian had said earlier, we're kind of gonna roll it back, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about the iconic character designs of certain characters in media. I'm gonna share my screen here. See if you can see all that.
Yep.
There we go.
As everybody knows, everybody's seen one of these character designs at least once in their life, or at least most people have, especially if you're online or surrounded by communities of the sort. You've got Mario, you've got Pac-Man, you've got Sonic, and you've got Pikachu. And all of these are very easily recognizable, mostly due to the fact that they're from really popular franchises. But one of the things that also makes them really recognizable is their character design. And these iconic traits of these characters' appearances help audience members remember characters and their franchises a lot easier. Like if we didn't have, maybe Sonic's iconic blue hedgehog look, or maybe Pikachu's yellow, like black and yellow little mousy look, would we really remembering them and their franchises as well, or would we just be like, oh, it's just another, like, I don't know, brown mouse looking thing, or maybe just a brown hedgehog? No, of course not. It's their character designs that help us remember them a lot easier. When someone says Pikachu, you think of Pokemon. When someone says you think of Legend of Zelda. Having a character that appeals to the audience visually helps them form that connection, whether it's finding the design appealing in some way, whether cute or finding it cool or maybe relatable, or just the design is so unique that they can't forget it. Of course, you've got things like Mario and his entire overalls and his gloves and his mustache.
And his accent.
Of course, that as well. And this applies for other medias as well, and not just video games, because I have another thing that I want to share, and that would be, let me see if I can pull this up. I have Oops. Gotta get that window pulled up. Let's see if I can see that.
Ooh.
This
That's
is a series on YouTube called Rat Boys Kingdom, made by the creator Ratboy Genius. And the series is not super popular, but a lot of people tend to recognize the characters because of how iconic they are. Their appearance is. The main character, Ratboy Genius, is of course the little yellow rat on the right. He's usually seen with his red buggy or his iconic big yellow ears. And on the left is his partner, Summer Solstice Baby, and she's usually seen, with her long black hair in her blue shirt and pink skirt. These are things that help people remember the franchise a lot easier. And I'm sure with the media that you guys had brought up, there's a character within each of them that makes that franchise easily memorable. A character that symbolizes its franchise. These traits aren't too hard to come up with either. I myself have done them while creating a character. Like, it's easy to figure out based on how exactly does your character act or what kind of environment are they in. They're important factors to consider when designing a character. And truly, it's not that difficult. I have a character who's very eccentric, so she has bright purple and yellow hair. But she's super shy and super reserved, so she dresses in modest but trendy clothing because she likes, fitting in. And because of the fact that she's a witch, she loves knowledge, so she's often seen carrying a book or working in the library. All of these things pull together this iconic look that helps people remember a series. And it's not just the appearance that helps people remember. It can also be things such as the music from a franchise or perhaps the voice actor from a franchise. Do you guys have any examples that you would like to share of certain franchises that are easily recognizable due to a certain song or maybe even a sound effect or a certain voice actor?
That's for me. That's easy. For me, that would be Kingdom Hearts, and a general sound that usually helps me come up with. It'll be something like this, kind of.
Let me see if I can.
Cool.
Awesome.
Like this, or maybe something like this too.
Mm-hmm.
All sounds that's in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's basically like my text tone or whatever. But an iconic voice actor is Haley Joel Osment. It's Sora, or Bill Farmer as Goofy. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts is it's very distinguishable.
For sure.
To me, if I'm thinking of cartoons, I always think of the gummy bears, that iconic dum ba dum ba da 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 da. It starts with that dashing and daring, that whole little intro, and even the sound that they make when they drink the gummy berry juice, that it's like bring with all of a sudden it's like that power up that they get when they drink the gummy berry juice. So those things, to me, it's super iconic, and I actually enjoyed that art style too. I don't know, it was soft and gentle, so, and also feeling that you can relate to the characters. It's like little teddy bears, and me as a youngster, that when I was watching gummy bears, that was it was really sweet, and the stories were also very virtuous.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I know I can name a good handful of franchises, not just video games, but cartoons myself, especially as an avid cartoon fan, of iconic things from cartoons that are that make a certain series memorable. Things like Courage the Cowardly Dog. You get this pink dog. They could have made him completely normal and maybe made him white or brown. But no, this pink, raggedy little looking dog of courage. Cowardly dog. It's a name that contradicts itself.
To me, that was also like a big era with all those games and the cartoons from Cartoon Network. If you think Cow and Chicken, I don't know if you're also familiar with that.
For sure. And all of these things, it really helps not only bring attention to, like, oh my god, this character design is so interesting, it's so unique, but it's just generally like you don't forget it. Like if you see something that's super interesting or super unique or maybe even weird, you look at it and you're like, that's a bit odd, but you don't forget it. And of course, with that, it helps you remember the series that it comes from, and that's why these things like unique character designs or maybe unique sound effects or unique songs or the way a voice actor portrays a character is really important, because it can really stick that into somebody's memory and make it live on.
That is so cool.
Mhm.
I love that. The characters that you showed from that Rat Boy, it kind of reminds me of like children's drawings. And I know, if you draw the hands, it's those big hands. And with that
Yeah.
one, you see it had 6 fingers and like 8 toes for that one character. So it was actually quite epic to see that.
Yeah, and you'll see that and you'll be like, oh, it reminds me of children's drawings, or oh, it's a little quirky or a little silly. But it definitely sticks with you, because I remember when I first saw the series for Rat Boy Genius, I was like, this is a bit odd, but I still remembered it, and I came back to it eventually, and I was like, actually, this series is really good. And it just, one of the art styles for shows as well, and any sort of media, can really have that kind of like effect on you, where it's like, oh, this art style reminds me of this thing.
Yeah. So because we used to have on a Sunday on our cable, there was like, usually they had like 2 cartoons. It was like either like Darkwing Duck or the Gummy Bears, and Tailspin, and all these type of things that they basically had all these cartoon characters, or like these cartoons that they had. And I've actually quickly downloaded a video clip of the gummy berry juice. So let's see if we can hear the sound that it makes when they drink it.
And now for the final and most important part of the recipe. The 3-step stir.
Hi.
Sonny, pay attention. One mistake and disaster.
Yes, Grammy.
First, you stir slow to the right. Then slow to the left. Then bang! To get out the bubbles. Did you get that?
Oh, yeah.
Then let's see you do it.
Let's see. Stir the juice.
No, that's too fast.
And bang!
So even just this little sound, like the explosions, was very signature to the Gummy Bears, and even just Grammy's voice, like, that little scruffy voice that I don't know, it just brings back memories. And yeah, so I think we had a awesome show with looking at things from the past. We kind of stuck to your theme, Brian, with time traveling. So that was quite cool. So, any final comments? Anything that you want to comment on with regards to what you spoke about tonight?
Oh goodness.
I
think I've said all that I really wanted to share.
Yeah.
But I mean, I definitely had a lot of fun going back and looking at all of these, and it was kind of nostalgic, kind of, looking back at all of these and being like, discussing like how they take a modern spin, or like just how nostalgic it is to look back at a lot of these.
Yeah, I think that was fun, and I'm looking forward to getting Chris on board next time, and to hear his words of wisdom with regards to voiceover acting and just his industry information. So it's been an hour. Can you believe that time actually went really fast? So this is where we say goodbye and good night. But before we say that, I want to remind all our viewers that there's a link that I'd like you guys to go and follow and go check out, and it is www.xpcrunch.network. Go and check it out if you want to find out more information about all the presenters from XP Crunch, and join an awesome community where we'll share information on workshops and maybe some more details with regards to our programs and other streamers and people who are also involved with the company. And even if there's in real life events that you can go and check out, or maybe even job opportunities, you never know. So go and check out the link and join the network, because at the moment they are running a promotion that is free to be a member, and it'll only be for a limited time. So make sure you go to that link as soon as you can. So that is super cool. And yeah, that is about it for us from the AMP Arcade. From me, Robert.
Farewell.
And from Brian and from Nova.
A sleepy boy.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.